Hello everyone, hi, it's Mita here. Welcome to Synastry Expert, where we talk about relationships. And as you know, I always talk about bringing practicality into our relationship through astrology. I believe in an actionable astrology that brings us practical results that we can see or close to tangible things that we can do in reality. And what you see here is an extract from my PM book guidebook. It's an old version. It's the 5th edition. Some of you may well know about the PM book, as I know that some of you are leaders and are leading projects, big projects in your organizations and in your life. So you would know about this. And I know the last time actually there was the 6th edition. Right after I had purchased the 5th edition, there was a 6th edition that was going to be released later on that year, when I needed to use my PM book guidebook here. But what is important here is something that I also talked about at the beginning of my channel when I started to really venture into the practical side of astrology. I talked about the cycle of projects, and I equalize it to the cycle of relationships, because relationships are actually our projects. When we get into a relationship, we are handling a project. And as we know, a project has a start date and has an ending date. We do know that that's the first definition of a project. And it is the same with the relationship. Well, some may say, oh, Mita, but a relationship doesn't have an end date. It actually doesn't have an end date in terms of us knowing humanly, but in terms of the spiritual design. Your end date of your relationship has already been set. Your chart will show and can show when your relationship will end. Now, there's so many different ways of relationships coming into an end. There's the usual breakup. I don't want to see you. You don't want to see me. I don't want to talk to you. Why are you calling me? In fact, don't even look at me. Okay, we're done. It's finished. We are done. Goodbye. Ciao. A biento. Not even a biento. Adieu. Bye bye. It's done. Completo. Capuch. Pelile. Right? That's that. But then there's also the ending of one stage into leading into a new stage. This is the 8th house vision, whereby there's a death and a rebirth. The first one that I just talked about, the breakup, it is the 12th house ending, whereby I don't want to see you again. We're done. Ciao. You're not my guy anymore. You're not my girl anymore. Ooh, I can't even believe why I was with you. And then the second part of the breakup is when we are ending the current status of our relationship, whereby we are no longer boyfriend and girlfriend. Now we are getting into being husband and wife, or into being fiance, into being, what is it called? Fat and set, whereby we pack together, like we have a signed agreement that we are now staying together, but we're not legally married like the traditional way, but there is some sort of agreement that is written down. Maybe we buy a house together, a home together. There is a status change in our relationship, right? So many countries, I do know that they recognize some arrangements of staying together as partners, as marriage. In fact, in South Africa, you can literally claim everything that you shared with your partner. If your partner happens to pass away, unfortunately, the law will recognize you as the legal person to get everything, because that's what the law says. If you have been staying together for 3 months, you don't even need more in South Africa. 3 months is enough. you stay together, you move in together, the law immediately recognizes you as legally bound to each other, also in terms of property and rights as well. So do check your legal policies and laws pertaining to marriage. I know that in France here, there is a system that is called PACS, whereby we can decide to stay together and be recognized by the government as partners that are life partners that are staying together. And we are counted as a couple. Everything is a couple. The only difference is that the woman or guy cannot take their partner's surname. So these become, the minor details that differentiate between a legal marriage and, the PAC system. So this is what we're dealing with in France. I am not aware about the SA and the South America and USA and South America, Canada, India. These are countries that China. These are countries that are supporting me in my here on my channel. So this is why I'm mentioning you guys countries. I'm not aware, but I promise you, I like to learn. Eventually I will learn about what is applicable to your countries. So in Nigeria as well, shout out to Nigeria. I will know about what is applicable to your country, so that when you come here, everything practical that is relating to your relationship and how you can encompass that with astrology, because it is definitely my aim to bring practicality into our relationship through astrology. Now, back to my story, to my past life with my first husband. My first husband once mentioned to me that, oh my gosh, you are a project manager. Why don't you use the project management skills and education that you've gotten to sort out our problems? And that to me was very helpful, because he indeed said something that today I use also for my clients when I am analyzing your chart, because really our relationships are our projects. What he said to me changed my whole view about relationship. This was way back. I now have a new husband, because I like to bring a reality. What I talk about with you guys, I not only tested, but I have experienced some of the things regarding to relationships. And so when I speak something to you, and when I urge you to not romanticize some of the things, and when I motivate you to look at some of the things, it is because I tested on people, but I also have an experience in some of the things, and because I believe in actionable astrology, whereby we live in reality, not just theory. We live in reality. We do things that will give us realistic results through our charts. That is the goal. And so, of course, when I talk about a divorce, I am a lawyer, as you guys know, but it also goes to the point that when it comes to divorce, and I talk about divorce and I help people in mediation, and through their divorces, I also, take from my past experiences to be able to be realistic with you as a client, and not just feed you theory that I've never experienced, that I don't know how it feels. It just brings a lot of sympathy for me, in my practicality. But As you know, or as you should know, that do not at all look down upon anyone who can give you advice, even if they've never experienced that thing. Because as I always say, even children can teach us a whole lot of things. They don't need to have experienced what we're going through for us to learn from them. So you don't have to have had a successful relationship. You don't have to have been in love. You don't have to have been married. You don't have to have been certified counselor, whatever, relationship advisor for you to be able to give effective and productive advices to people. You can lift people up even if you've never experienced those things that they're going through. But the difference is that somebody who has experienced what you're going through is that they bring in sympathy and understanding, because they know how it feels to experience that and how to go through what you're going through. So that's the difference here. To make an example of what I'm talking about, for example, when I gave birth to my first child, because I have 3 children, right? I have 3 children. I have 2 biological kids, and I have my bonus child, who is my firstborn. She's 18 years old. You know, she's a lovely, lovely young daughter of mine. Bonus child. You know, it's so nice to have all these experiences, you know, having a bonus child, a stepchild, having had experienced divorce, have experienced so much, you know, falling in love and all of these things, because all of this experience helps me. Now, when I gave birth to my first child, I didn't know how, you know, it would feel. I didn't know how to push, but I watched the videos, you know, and learned how I'm going to push, you know, the baby out and all of these things. But with all of that learning from YouTube, how to push, what to do, you know, because the hospital also offered the courses and all of that, I still felt so much pain. I still couldn't control the pain. But then the difference is that with my second child, when I gave birth to my second child, it was so like an emergency, and you know, there was the firefighters who came and they had to take me to another region with a different administration, because the hospital where I'm at was actually on strike. I had been there. They told me to go home, and they told me to call the pompier. In France, the firefighters are like the first responders. They are so helpful. So they're the ones who took me to another region. So my child is like a foreigner, you know, when it comes to where I am. Even in his chart, you can see all of this foreign thing, you know, because I had to go to another region. But in any case, whilst I was in this car of this firefighter, I was with, you know, this firefighter. He was so nice. And it was just males, because even the doctor that came to my house was a male figure. So these males, because they've never experienced giving birth, they don't know how it actually feels compared to midwives and nurses and female doctors who know how it feels. So they have more sympathy, right? But the males, they are so technical. They lack the sympathy and the understanding of helping you feel through your pain. So whatever they're saying for them is from an academical point of view, is from a practical point of view, is from a technical point of view, and not from sympathy. But then through that, I learned how to actually technically handle the pain. And for the first time, I was able to learn how to literally breathe through, you know, your contractions. Oh my gosh, when I gave birth, it was so easy because I could literally control my pain with each and every contraction. The shorter they became, I was so aware in my head, and I could anticipate. I could speak when they're asking questions. I could respond because I'm able to handle the pain, because the person who's never experienced it gave me a non-emotional, sympathetic but only technical advice. So what I'm trying to say is that you don't have to really experience the things in order for you to be able to give the good advices, right? The difference is only the sympathy, really. Whoever has experienced it, they will help you, but with a more understanding, more sympathetic way. And who's never experienced it, they more technical, but they also are able to bring you towards realizing and just being technical and taking away emotions that sometimes are not necessary, and the emotions that sometimes can be dangerous for your situation. So you do need both people. Now, going back to what I'm introducing to you guys here, this is the stages of planning of projects, right? And executing projects. So from planning to closing. And as I said, I started with the closing part, the breakup part, and another part of the breakup is that you can also choose to renew your vows, whereby you've been married for so many years, and once you finish the 12-year cycle, because you have to finish it, once you finish the 12-year cycle, a lot of people do their renewal vows at 7 years, which is also another indication, a good indication, but I'm going to tell you the difference. But you have to finish the 12 and then you renew your vows, because now you are becoming a new person again. You are being born into this marriage again. So it's very important. And so that's another way of closing your project. There's an end date and then you start a new one. Then of course there's the end date, which is unfortunately death, whereby your partner passes away and they move on into another spiritual realm, right? And they leave you alone. Now when we talk about the start of the project, this is where we get introduced to each other. I saw you, you saw me, and you thought I was hot, I thought you were hot, you thought I was sexy, I thought you were sexy. I want to hook up with you, you want to hook up with me. We meet, we agree that we like each other, and we are in a relationship. This is the stage one, start of the project, start of the relationship. Now, from there, we're going to move on to the organizing and the preparation of the project. This is where that SWOT analysis tool I talked about 2 days ago comes into place. It comes in handy here, because this is where we see what strengths are you coming in with, what strengths am I coming in with, weaknesses. We are assessing the tools that we have and that we need to make this project, this relationship successful. Now we move on to the next stage, the execution stage, which is also encompassing the control and the monitoring. Because in relationships, these three, they go in together, but in some projects you can divide them. You have, the execution part, and then you have the control and monitoring. But because we're talking about human behavior, in most cases, the execution part goes together with the control and at the same time with the monitoring. Right, so here, this is where we are literally trying to make sure we are delivering whatever we said we're going to deliver to each other. We are doing the romantic things, we're going out on dates. We never forget why we fell in love in the first place. Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is how I use my PM book, guidebook, my project management experience. Once in my life, I was a project manager. I led a team. It was a small team of 9 people, but we did a lot of work. We were working with huge companies, government bodies, on all of that. But leading a project is really, as my ex-husband said, my first husband said, is like a project. And I've never forgotten that, and I keep using that even today with my clients, and you can use it too. I will find a way to break it down in terms of the actual houses, the actual planets, to explain it to you. We do have some time, we do have some good years together ahead of us, so bit by bit, I'm going to make sure that you bring practicality in your relationship. All of this theory that you've been learning from YouTube, from books, from blogs, all of it, you now know too much. Too much knowledge is in your head. The AI, they also giving you too much information, but what are you going to do with the information? This is where I come in. I make sure you apply it realistically in your relationships. This is Mita. Book with me on my website, and all the prices have gone down because you have told me you are now using AI. And let's do this. Let's become practical. Let's help each other, help our communities, help our relationships stand strong and still. Yes, à bientôt, and ciao.